Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Everybody's starting to file in. Sorry we got a little bit of a late start. It's always a scramble sometimes to get things all set up. We are super, super busy here at the shop. We got a massive thread order yesterday that we had been waiting on, and so we, if you could see around us, we are up to our necks in thread, which is, I'm not complaining at all, but we have been very, very busy. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend a little time with me. I'm Miss Precious, and I really appreciate you finding some time to spend with me, and we can talk about my favorite subject, which I'm betting is yours as well, which is machine quilting. So I'm really glad that you're here, and it's always nice if you over in the comments, over in the chat area, if you just put where you're from. It's always fun to see where folks are and how many we've got people who watch. Well, we had a gal in the Netherlands who contacted us recently that she's been watching. So near and far, we appreciate and enjoy everybody here in the clubhouse. So do file in, and I'm just giving a little bit of time for folks to head on in. Jesse, are people coming in and telling where they're from? Okay, all right. All right, well, like I said, we are in Louisville, Kentucky, so it's always fun to see where everybody is coming in from. I do want to encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. If you are in our newsletter, you are getting some exclusive grid content, some exclusive worksheets that go along with everything that we've been talking about so far. So make sure that you're on our newsletter, and when you get it in your inbox, we've had a few people say that it landed in their spam box. So go ahead and add the email that the newsletter comes from to your contact list, and then your email provider will know that you actually want to see our newsletter every time it comes in, and that way it won't accidentally get into your spam box. But I hope that you're on the newsletter list, because in the month of January you got some grids and some worksheets to download, and I hope that you've been able to go through, work through those, and kind of play and get to know a lot of the designs that we're talking about. So 2021 is the year of the grid. So we're going to be talking about not only how to use these grids, the path of how to use the grids, but grids are so versatile. They can be used in not only block designs or on-point designs or diamond, but they can also be used in sashing spaces and border spaces and half triangles, setting triangles. You guys, I hope that you realize the depth of what we're talking about, because it can be used in so many places. And once you know a few different kind of go-to grid designs, when you need an idea of what to put on your quilt, I think you'll find a grid design will work out well. I also wanted to share with you, we have been having a glide into January sale because we were so excited about leaving 2020 behind. So we had all of our glide threads on sale all January, and we had so much fun with that. We're going to glide on into February too. So we've extended that sale, and if you are looking for a new thread to try, I encourage you to try Glide thread. We carry every color and every size they make. We also have, Glide has a version of the thread that is a matte finish. It's called Primo Soft, and so it reads like cotton without kind of the issues that cotton can bring, especially on a high-speed long arm quilting machine. And so I encourage you to pick up a cone and try some Glide if you haven't already. And if you have tried Glide, then you already know, and you're loving it too. So we have that sale extended through February. It's on our Magna Glide, pre-wound bobbins, and all of our Glide products. So do try those, that thread. And then I want to encourage you to, we are going to have two online long arm quilting classes coming up. One is the beginning long arm class, and that class is the class that is geared specifically to new owners of an APQS long arm machine, but the information in it will apply to any long arm machine brand, and there's only a few things in that class that are about like APQS specific maintenance that wouldn't apply if you have a different brand. But if you are looking for some education, some beginning baby steps education for long arm quilting, that class, that beginning long arm class, will be helpful to you. And then the following day, I teach an introduction to custom quilting class. Again, this is all through Zoom, and it's all recorded, so you have 2 weeks after class where you could rewatch everything too. And the classes come with lots and lots of downloadables so that you have information that you have at your fingertips as we work through some things together. In that introduction to custom quilting class, you know, that would be both sit-down domestic machine as well as long arm machine. We're just going to kind of get you started with the motifs and the approaches that I think will serve you well over time and get you ready to feel comfortable and confident when you tackle a custom quilt. And so for those of you who are like, I don't know what a custom quilt is, when I say custom quilting, what I mean is that you have individual motifs that go into the block design or sashing design or border design, as opposed to an all over edge to edge where the quilting design wanders across the quilt from one side of the quilt clear across to the other side of the quilt, and that design doesn't stop for blocks or borders or sashings or corners or anything. It flows through the whole quilt. So we will be talking about custom quilting, about how to decide, how to think about, and what the path would be for so many designs in that custom quilting class. So I hope you can join me. You can find out more information on the website. You can always give us a call as well, but you can put those classes in your cart and check out, and I'll see you in the classroom. Okay, so today we are going to talk about curvy grids. Now, last month in January, we talked about cathedral windows and what the path was for a cathedral window design, and then I gave you kind of an alternate design as well. So I encourage you to go back. If you want to know more about the path, go back and watch January. We do have them all recorded. They're all up on our YouTube channel, at our Quilted Joy channel on YouTube. So you can go back and watch. You know, we've been doing this now, I think, 2 years, right, Kelsey? Yeah, 2 years. So there's a lot of stuff for you to go through. You'll be sick of hearing me talk. Okay, so we are going to talk about some curvy design fillers that I think you'll enjoy. It's the same concept that we did before, but I'm going to put a little twist in it, okay? So I've got a grid called up here on my computer, and I will encourage you to get some graph paper out and do this on graph paper. You could also make your own grids and draw on them, and if you're on our newsletter, you're going to get some grids in your inbox that you can print out and play on. Okay, so here's my grid, and I'm going to do a curvy, well, we talked about our ladybug last time, and I don't know if you know this, but my ladybug, she likes to ski. So she's going to start up here in the attic, and when I say the attic, what I want you to think about is that this grid is a house. So I have the top level of my house. The top level of my house has a room here, one room here, one room here, one room here, right? That's the top level of my house. Let me Control Z those. And then the middle level of my house has 3 rooms, and the bottom level of my house has 3 rooms. So my little ladybug, she's up here, she's in the attic, and she is going to come out of the attic, and she really likes to ski. And she's going to ski across this top ceiling of that first room on the top floor of my house. So she does this little whole ski thing, and then she skis back. Her skis are parallel, and then she hops over. Now she's going to ski down the wall. She skis down the wall. She keeps her skis parallel. She heads back up, and then she does her regular hop and hop back. Okay, now she's going to go across the ceiling. Here's her skis. And hop. Now down the wall, ski, hop, hop, ski, hop, ski, ski, hop. All right, now she's going to go across the floor of the top level of my house, but when she skis, do you see how she kind of breaks through? Hop. So when she skis, she kind of breaks through to the other side of that ceiling. So there's her skis, and then she hops. Now she's ready to drop into the middle level of my house. Well, she's already done her skiing, so she doesn't need to ski again. So she just hops. Now she's going to go down this wall. She's going to ski, ski, hop, hop. Now she's going to go across the ceiling. She's already skied, so she doesn't ski again. she just hops. But now she's got her skis on, keeps them parallel. Now she's going to go across the ceiling. And then she's going to go down this side. Ski, ski, hop. And really make your ladybug take some big hills on her skis. So this is, oh no, I was trying to think about what I was going to say to you. So this is a design where I would not stitch out the grid. I would mark the grid, or, you know, if it's pieced, if this was a 9 patch, the piecing would be your grid. You wouldn't have to mark a darn thing. But I would not stitch this grid. All right, hop. Now she's going to come down with her skis, and then she's going to hop. And then now she's going to go across the floor and hop, and the floor, and hop, and the floor, and hop. Okay, so at this point, I have spotted her. At this point, I am after her, so she's going to head back up to the attic. Again, she's got her skis on, so ski, and hop, and ski, and hop, and ski, and hop. Okay, so that is a wavy design. And that will allow you to travel. Now, I would not do that on a 1-inch grid, right? Maybe a 2-inch grid might be pushing it too. Definitely a 3-inch, 4-inch, you know, larger grid, it would look beautiful on. But I want to tweak it just a little bit because I want you to see that you do have some options here to make those, they're kind of like stars, kind of pop out at you a little bit more. And that would be to eliminate a few of the ceilings, a few of the walls, and a few of the floor. So I have another grid here, and I'm going to just show you that. So the first thing I would do, regardless, is stitch in the ditch, right? Just to stabilize it, because I got so much going on. I don't want to knock my my patchwork out of skew. And then, I would probably start right here, because this is where I'm going to drop in. So I would stitch in the ditch going around, and I'm right here. Now, here's my little ladybug. Instead of starting in the far left corner, she's going to start here. And she's going to ski down. She's going to ski up. She's going to hop. She's going to hop. And then she's going to sneak in the ditch. Sneak, 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 sneak to the next ceiling. So she's skipping to the next wall. She's skipping the ceiling. Got her skis. Now she's going to hop. And then she's going to sneak along the ditch until she gets to this floor. Skis, hop, skis, hop, skis, hop. All right, now she's dropping down into the middle level of my house. She's going to go across the ceiling. She's going to ski down the wall, hop, across the ceiling. She's already skied, so she doesn't have to do that again there. Now she's got to ski. And hop. She's going to sneak down the ditch. Now we have another floor. Ski, hop, ski, hop, ski, hop, hop. Now she's going to go down this ceiling, this wall. There's her skis. And if you guys have any questions about what we're doing, put those over there in the chat, and Jessie will let me know what your questions are. And then one more little hop, and she's done. So that gets you a kind of a star look. I think I'm going to zoom out here just so that you can see a little bit more. There's my zooms. I'm like, where the heck did they go? Okay, so there's two different versions of the same design. So you now know this path. You just have to decide which walls and which ceilings and which floors your ladybug is going to hop along to create the design. And so what I've got over here on my APQS Millennium machine is a grid stitched out. And so I thought what we would do is we would do that second design, our ladybug design, on this grid so that you can see what this looks like all stitched out. So I'm going to start up here. Just like I said, I would go around the ditch and I probably start in that area so that I stabilize my ditch. Now she's got her skis on. She's going to come down this wall, back up the wall, and then a hop, and then I would sneak across the ditch. Ski, ski, hop, hop, across the ditch, and down. Ski, ski, hop, ski, ski, hop. And then I'm going to go across the ceiling. And I will say that, you could absolutely, oh, my thread broke. You could absolutely do this on a domestic machine, but I would make sure you don't have the walking foot on, right? Because you would need it to be in free motion mode in order to do that. And my guess is we had this needle being used for, we rent out time on our machines, so we have a whole group of folks who come in and use our machines to quilt their own quilts, and my guess is this needle needs to be changed. So all right, hopefully I don't have too many arms here in the way, Kelsey. Okay. And so what I was going to say, and I'll cut those when I get away from them. What I was going to say to you is that I am not looking right at the needle. I am looking ahead of the needle, across to here. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and snip those threads that we had before. If you look right at the needle, you kind of get lost. So the only time I'm looking right at the needle is when I need to come into a point, sneak down the ditch. Otherwise, I am looking about 2 inches ahead of the needle and just trusting that the needle is going to stitch through the fabric. There we go, now across the ceiling, and now I got one more here. And so I'm just doing a 9 patch, but this would work in a bigger grid too. Or do you see that this could be a border as well? If I just stitched out, if I did the grid. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, Kelsey, and do the ditch around here just so that, before I show them what it looks like, just so that it's not like floating out here in space. And I would normally use a ruler for this, but this Millie really moves well, so I can kind of fake it. All right, I'm going to break my thread, and I'm going to cut them so that you can see. Is that good, Kelsey? Can you see it? So that you can see the design. All right, so what do you think? So that's without the side piece. Without the some of the ceilings and some of the walls and the bottom level floor. But can you see how super forgiving this is? Like if we got really, really critical and we looked right here at this point, you're like, well, they don't really come together. But I'm not doing this to be judged. And if you look at it the way you would normally take in a quilt, you can see that the little imperfections don't hop out and smack you upside the head the way it might if you were doing something that had lots and lots of symmetry. It's because this doesn't have any symmetry, because it's kind of all the lines are very organic. That's why it's so forgiving. So I hope that you enjoyed that that one. I wish I had names for these. I have no idea. If you know what to call that, put it in the comments, because I would love to have an idea of what to call it. I just called it a curvy grid, but of course there are loads of variations of curvy grids, so I have no idea what you would. Twisted ribbon star? I have no idea, so put it in there. Did we have any questions that popped up, Jessie?
It doesn't look so. It reminds me of the cat's eye in a marble.
A cat's eye in a marble? Yeah, it does.
Like that sort of
Like that kind of twisted, yeah, twisted glass look. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, you never know what to call things. Like we just did a bunch of video tutorials for APQS, and it was like, okay, what do we call this? I don't know. It looks like a shark's fin. What should we call it? I have no idea. So anyway, it's always fun to kind of come up with a name because you never, you know, there's no like rhyme or reason or rules either for most things. So, and I do want to thank our sponsor, APQS. APQS makes all their long arm machines right there in the middle of nowhere in Iowa. It is a homegrown, hometown, small town affair, and APQS machines are 100% handcrafted in America, and they are loved the world over. APQS comes with a lifetime warranty so that you can quilt forever. So thank you so much, APQS. Thank you for your support. We love you. All right, so normally we go and we tour a studio and kind of check things out, but it occurred to me, you guys have never seen where we work out of. You guys haven't seen where we sew out of. Now, it is messy, right? Because all creative spaces are messy. And we are in the middle of creating a bunch of quilts for publications, for magazines and appearances and things. So it's even a little bit more in disarray, but I thought you would enjoy taking a little tour of our space, of our studio. So enjoy. This is my little world. Okay, so we are closed today. Today is Monday, we're closed. We just have a couple of folks here that work on their internet orders on Monday while the doors are closed. So I thought it'd be a good chance for me to show you around the shop because I don't know that you've ever seen it. We have so many customers from all over the place, but they don't get to visit us in person. So how about a tour of Quilted Joy, all right? Okay, so you are in the front. I'm gonna show you. There's the front door. Yeah, and so when you come in the front door, there's a wall of thread and a wall of wide back fabric. So we only carry the quilt back fabrics, the 108-inch wide quilt back fabrics, not the regular quilter's cotton. So, okay, let's go over and see all the pretty fabric. We've got so many new ones in. And actually, Kelsey's husband, Jordan, he built these racks for me, which was so nice. And then over here, we have our binding. And up here, take a look at that. That is our kitty cat shark bed that's in this season of Fons and Porter Love of Quilting. And then over here is my favorite wall. There's our thread. Look at all that thread. It's a 30-foot wall of thread, and that's not even all of it because we've also got our Primo Soft is all over here. So thread, 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 thread. And then our books are here. And more thread over here. And then over here, of course, you got to have a lime green wall, right? That was like my first thing when I got the space. I was like, I want a lime green wall with polka dots. So that's what I got. And there's our cutting table, and that's our checkout. All right, so let's go back here in the back because I want you to see this area too. So back here, this is our rental room. So this is where we have, here's all of our battings, and we rent out our machines by the hour. And so you can see all of our long arm machines in here that we rent out by the hour. And then over in this area is where we package up. There's Rachel. Hi, Rachel. This is where we package up all of our internet orders. And then let's go back here. We're getting ready. Oh, take a look. This is what I'm working on right now for a customer. She's getting it custom quilted. So I've got this one on the frame right now on my Lucy with IQ. And then up here in the rafters, these are all the quilts that have been on Fons and Porter Love of Quilting as well as in the magazine. And some of them are this season, and some of them are past seasons, but we like to hang them up here and take them in for a little while. There's my Lulu, the elephant. That's a Laura Heine pattern. And then back here, this is where we record, and there's Kelsey getting ready for our clubhouse meeting. So back here is where we record. Over here is where Melanie stitches up some of our Love of Quilting quilts. And then back here, I'll show you my messy space. So here's my little messy space. Not very big, but this is where I piece. And this is my little office is back here in this cubby. So what do you think? That's it. Not a big space. We are wee but mighty, all woman powered shop here in Louisville, and I appreciate you taking a tour. All right, what did you think? Yeah, it's not a very big space. We have maximized every little corner that we possibly can. But one of the things that I really love about this space is all of the quilts that we can hang up above the machines that we rent. It just, Melanie, who works here, she said it's kind of like the Harry Potter. Like it just feels like the Great Hall of the Harry Potter movie where everything's kind of hanging up in the sky. It's just a really nice way to kind of present our quilts and have them kind of around us throughout our day. So I would love to see your quilting studio as well. If you are willing to let us kind of be nosy and do a video chat with you to take a look at your studio, just send us an email through our contact page at quiltajoy.com, and we'll chat and see if there's a good time for you that we could record it. As you noticed, that was recorded a couple of days ago, so we don't do that one live. We just record it and then we play it back for you so that we can kind of edit it and get it ready for you. So anyway, if you are willing to let me be nosy and see your space, send us an email through our contact page. All right, so we have some new arrivals here that I wanted to talk to you about. So we got some pantographs. So these are paper pantographs that you put on the back of the machine and you trace them with a laser light. And we got some new ones in that are so much fun to look at. So one of the ones that we got is called Abracadabra, and it is by Natalie Gorman, and it just has this wonderful, speaking of Harry Potter, it just has this wonderful kind of flowy, like you just let a spell kind of wisp through the room. Really fun, and it really quilts up nicely. And then we got Calder. Calder, let me find Calder. Calder is made by, was also Natalie Gorman. And again, this one is kind of a swoosh. These are all going to be kind of a little more modern feel to them. But I love her right side up, upside down, kind of swishy, pinched square there. It really looks pretty on a quilt. And then Bayside. Bayside is a new one for us. Bayside is by Hermione Aggie, and it has this echoed kind of a half heart, but it doesn't read as a heart. It's just a kind of an echoed arc, I would call it. And then we have Wavy Gravy. Wavy Gravy is a friend of mine, Jessica Schick. She always makes great patterns. This one adds so much wonderful texture. And all these are great for beginning quilters as well. So don't think that these are for more advanced or you've had your machine for a while. They're each different sizes. So that's the only thing you need to pay attention to is which size is going to work for your machine. And then finally, oh, I skipped Wavy Gravy. No, I did Wavy Gravy? Oh, did I get them all, Kelsey? You got Onion Skin. Onion Skin. Oh, okay. So Wavy Gravy is by Patricia Ritter, and Onion Skin is by Jessica Schick. Sorry, I got those wrong. Wavy Gravy is a squared off texture, and then the Onion Skin is that curvy texture that was made by Jessica Schick. So all good patterns. We have loads more over there on quiltajoy.com if you're interested in different paper pantographs. So take a look. And then I would appreciate it if you would review us on Google. The big Google algorithm chooses who to kind of display us to based on our reviews and what people say about us. So if you have the time, if you would go over and leave us a review on Google. I read every review and I really thank you for your time. Of course, the best possible compliment to us, if you thoroughly enjoy watching the Clubhouse, is to share this with someone that you know that you think would also enjoy it. That would be awesome. All right, so I want to talk to you about a quilt that was submitted in the Quilt to Joy Clubhouse Facebook group. So each month I put out a call and say, okay, who has an unquilted quilt top that would like to submit it for consideration, and I pick one and then I show you how I would quilt it if it were my quilt. So if you have one, you know, in the back of your head that you want a little help with, hold on to the picture, and then when I put a call out for entries, pop it in the Quilt to Joy Facebook group. And if you're selected, you'll see it here on in our meeting. So this month, I have chosen Sherry's quilt that she posted. I love the graphic nature of this, Sherry, and I really love the color palette too, because those colors are ones that I would, they would follow me home, especially that rust color, but I don't always know quite what to do with it. But I really appreciate the palette here. And Sherry, in the clubhouse, definitely post what pattern this is, because I don't know what pattern it is, but it's a lovely quilt. So let's talk about how I would quilt this if it were my quilt. So of course, the first thing that jumps out at me is the repetitive nature of these solid cotton, solid color units. And so whatever I quilt on there is really going to stand out. And I want it to make sense on all those different colors. I'm going to actually repeat it in all those different colors. And of course, we've been talking about this grid, and we've been talking about this curvy ladybug ski grid. And so I got to thinking about how this is so geometric, straight line kind of geometric. What if we use those curvy skis that our ladybug likes and kind of added a little bit of movement to each of these? So the first thing that I did is I went through and put a grid on. So I'm just going to zoom in here. And by the way, I am using, it's a free program. It's called GIMP, and it works for both Mac and PC. And then I am just drawing, I'm going to go in even closer. I'm just drawing with a stylus. It's like a glorified mouse, really, that instead of a mouse, I'm using a stylus. I'm thinking I need to zoom in even more, Kelsey. What do you think? All right, I'm going to zoom in just a bit more. Okay, and maybe one more. I want to know that you guys can see this well. Okay, so the first thing that I would do is I would go through and mark out a grid on my quilt. And then I'm going to, and that would be in chalk, right? And then I'm going to get my little ladybug out, and I would come up here and start, just like we did before, and do my little skis, and ski up, hop down, and hop up. Now, to get to the next area, to take advantage of this empty space, rather than her hopping across the ceiling towards the middle of my block, I'm going to have her hop towards the outside of my block, the outside of my grid. And now she's got her skis on, and she's going to hop down, she's going to hop up, she's going to sneak in the ditch, sneak, 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 floor with skis, hop, floor with skis, hop, floor with skis, hop, ceiling, wall, ceiling, wall, and literally that's going on in my head. If I don't have something going on in my head, my ladybug gets super lost. Okay, so now to come down this area, I'm gonna hop again, but not towards the inside of the grid. I'm gonna hop towards the outside of the grid. Now I'm at my floor. Yeah, my ladybug, she gets distracted if I think about other things. And then she goes hopping around, and I go, what are you doing? Where are you going? It's so easy to get distracted. Okay, ceiling, wall. Okay, then I'm going to sneak down my ditch, hop away from the middle of my grid, ditch, ditch, hop away from the middle of my grid, and there I'm done. So it creates this kind of overlaid, gentle, curvy design on top of each of these. So, all right, Sherry, let's take a look at what this looks like, because I want you to see. So I'm going to turn off that layer and turn off that layer, and here's my ladybug with skis, and if I'm smart, I'll know how to zoom out. So sort of smart, not really, faking it. But there you go. All right. All right, Sherry. So that's what I would do in each of those block designs. And I wouldn't stitch the ditch. I would mark or stitch the grid. I would mark the grid and then use that for my ladybug on skis. Okay, so next I started thinking about the structure to go along with this, and you have that Irish chain. You know, you just can't deny that strong cross with the white going through on those diagonals. So what I decided to do was to take just a straight line and go from like here up to here. Now, obviously, I can't do that all in one pass, right? Because the throat of my machine, while it is generous, it is not this big. So you're going to have to break these lines down and do them piece by piece, but it's pretty easy to do that depending on you know, how much space you have. As far as how to load this, if you were going to do this on a long arm machine, I would load it long ways, meaning that I want to be able to cover as much ground in one pass as I possibly can. So I would just keep on, and you're going to have to do these, Sherry, in bits and pieces, because you know, obviously you couldn't do a line like that all the way through. All right, so let's take a look at what that looks like, Sherry. So that's gives a lot of structure and a lot of framing out to each of those blocks. Loved that. And then I thought, okay, what am I going to do with those white borders? So let me zoom in here with these white borders, because I want to kind of make them special, but I wasn't quite sure how to do it. So what I did, let me turn off. Oh, it's coming from there. Okay, let me get a new layer so I don't have two on here. Okay, all right. So then what I thought about doing was, well, gosh, if I could just extend this line, right, extend it out to there, I've got a nice frame for this white space. And I thought if I take this midline and I come into that midline and divide that out, and then put one in between, and then I would even go out here. And what happens is it starts to give these kind of, I don't know, it's like a pointy chevron to really show off and draw the eye into the quilt. And I really love it. And then on these sides here, I just did straight line. That one wasn't a straight line. Just straight line like this, just 3 of them like that. Okay, so let's take a look, Sherry, at what this looks like, because I want you to see what I came up with for that. And I'm going to zoom out so you can get the full effect. Maybe. There we go, that'll be good. All right, Sherry, what do you think? I think it adds drama. It is still modern. It repeats that kind of curvy design in each of the blocks, and then it gives lots of great structure with those diagonal, almost like cross hatching, but it's really just a diagonal grid. So Sherry, you can quilt your quilt however you want to quilt your quilt, Sherry, but I would love to see whatever you come up with. Hopefully that gave you some ideas about how to break it down. You're going to need a ruler to do those long diagonals for sure on the machine, but play around with that free motion. I think you'll find those, what do we call it, cat's eye curvy grid design really forgiving and fun. So I hope you liked it.
We have a question.
You have a question? Okay, what was the question, Jessie?
Oh, I think that answered. Stephanie Peterson was asking when we load it long ways, do we sideways, and if you could just explain that.
Sure. So with a long arm machine, preferably you want to cover, because you can only quilt between your bars, you want to cover as much real estate with each pass as you can. So if I have a quilt and I load it skinny way, so I load it so that let's say the quilt is, I don't know, 60 by 80. Let's go with that. It's 60 by 80. So if I load it so that the 80 is long way, is short ways, so that I have to roll it. So I load it short ways. Am I not saying this right? So I load it short ways so that I only have 60 inches with each pass, versus if I load it long ways, then I would have 80 inches with each pass. And I would rather do 80 inches with each pass between my bars because I can get it done faster. And, oh, sure. Okay, so this quilt, I think it's 50 by 63, if I remember correctly. So for this quilt, I would load it so that this area is attached to my rollers, and this side here is attached to my rollers, so that I am quilting a chunk that is, well, in my case with a 26-inch throat, it's going to be, you know, a 22-inch space by that 60-inch width. So loading it short ways or long ways, it's more about conserving your efforts and choosing how to load so you can cover as much ground as you can between each pass. I will say there are times you don't get a choice. Like if there's a design where you simply need the ability to quilt north-south. For me, it was hearts for a long time. I couldn't do hearts laying east-west. They had to be north-south. That may dictate, or if you have a pattern that's directional, that may dictate. So that's, any other questions? I hope that made sense. But any other questions that came up?
How do you work with the pantographs in that situation?
So it's pantographs. Most of the pantographs out there will not have a direction. They won't have a north-south. They nest. You can't tell where one row starts and the next row begins. So for an all over edge to edge, I would definitely load long ways so that I can cover as much ground as I can with each pass. If you have a pattern that is directional, I would put it in a drawer and pretend like you don't have it anymore. It's just not as useful in my mind. I would much rather have a pattern that I don't even have to spend brain power thinking about, that I don't have to think, how am I going to load this thing, because that's the pattern I'm going to use. Because inevitably, I load a quilt and I go, okay, now it's loaded. What pattern should I put on it? So if I had to pre-think and think about how I was going to load for that particular pantograph, I would go buy me a different pantograph, because that wouldn't be on my list. So how about that for an answer? Get the kind you don't have to think about it so much. All right. So we do have in our Facebook group, in our Quilted Joy Clubhouse Facebook group, the kindest, nicest, most talented, lovely quilters around who are so supportive, and it's so wonderful to see all of the projects that they're working on and some of the projects that they are using, the designs and the concepts that we're talking about here in the Clubhouse. So I wanted to show you some of the ones that have been on the Clubhouse recently. So let me just... There we go. All right, Barbara, you blew me away with this. I love this quilt. And you have to go over to the Clubhouse because she put lots of close-ups too of this. So Barbara used the grid design that we talked about in January, that cathedral windows grid design in her quilt. And I just love it. So, you know, we've been talking about our ladybugs going along the walls and the ceiling, but if you have a piecing pattern, if your pieced pattern gives you a design like this, you can also, I call them, I guess, staircases. You could have your ladybug go down the staircases instead of the walls and the ceilings and get the same look, just on point. So great job, Barbara. Adrian, I love this. Adrian is launching herself off into feathers, and she's been joining into the Clubhouse, and she posted these setting triangles with these lovely, beautiful feathers. One of the things that really works well for her feathers, because that is such a large setting triangle, is that double spine. And Adrian, you did a great job on your double spine, and I'm sure that she marked that miter in the corner too to know where one side of the feathers were going to come up and touch and greet the other side of her feathers without crossing through the midline. So wonderful job. And then she also posted these feathers, and I wanted to draw your attention to the visual gutter, the little echo that she's put around each of those plumes. And that kind of gives them a little fluff. It kind of makes those feathers kind of stand up and look even more gentle and even more beautiful. So great job, Adrian. Kim, my goodness, Kim said she took a class from one of my quilt heroes, and you can find her over at greenfairyquilts.com, and she put this very geometrical, very beautiful quilt up that she took a class from Judy Niemeyer, so not Judy Niemeyer, Judy Madsen. Judy Madsen over at greenfairyquilts.com, and there's a lot of talented Judys in the quilting world, and she just did a great job with this, Kim. So good job, and I hope you enjoyed your class with Judy. She's a wonderful instructor. And Virginia posted this one. Oh, don't you love this? It's all about the Boy Scouts of America, and it's got all of those patches. My son got his Eagle Scout. He was an Eagle Scout, got that his senior year of high school, and so I know all about these badges. So. This was really a wonderful memento, and Virginia, thank you so much for sharing it with us. So if you want to see some close-ups, Virginia especially, she posted a lot of close-ups of her quilt. So go over there and take a look, because she did a fabulous job. And do join us if you have time over there in the Clubhouse. I think you'll enjoy seeing what others are working on. So next month, we will meet on Wednesday, March the 3rd at 1 o'clock Eastern, and we are going to talk about spiked cathedral windows. What does that mean? Well, you'll have to show up in March. And then again, make sure that you're on our newsletter list so that you get those bonus worksheets that I'm working you through, and I'm kind of building you up throughout the year because we're going to tackle some pretty interesting things as we go along. So make sure you're on our newsletter list. And then join us over on Facebook. We have a Facebook page for Quilted Joy, as well as that group that I was talking to you about. And then over on Instagram, I tend to post more like personal life, day in the life sort of stuff over there on Instagram. And then of course on YouTube, we post all of our tutorials and videos, so be sure to subscribe so that you're notified every time we pop up a new video. All right, were there any other questions that came up, Jessie, before we go?
I don't see any questions that are new.
Awesome. All right, well, you guys, thank you so much for all of the time that you spent with me today, and I will see you next month, first Wednesday of the month at 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific. All right, bye you guys. See ya.